My parents have always called this house a heritage home. To a 19-year-old left alone for a week, it's just a drafty, 3-story cage filled with the smells of floor wax and old dust. They left on Monday for their anniversary trip, leaving me with a stocked fridge and a list of emergency numbers I never thought I'd need. The first night was fine. The second night, the storm rolled in. The kind of Jaipur monsoon rain that makes the roof feel like it's being hammered by 1,000 tiny fists. I was lying in bed, the blue light of my phone the only thing keeping the shadows at bay, when I heard it. Tap, tap, tap. It was coming from directly above my head, not on the roof, but in the space between the ceiling and the attic floor. I froze. I told myself it was a squirrel, or perhaps a loose pipe reacting to the pressure of the storm. But the tapping wasn't random. It was rhythmic. 3 slow taps, a pause, then 3 more. It sounded like someone was trying to get my attention through the floorboards. I didn't sleep that night. I sat up with the lights on, watching the ceiling. By 4 a.m., the tapping stopped. The next morning, the sun was out, and I felt foolish. I grabbed a ladder and climbed into the attic. It's a cramped, unfinished space filled with my grandfather's old trunks and furniture draped in white sheets. I scanned the area. It was bone dry, no leaks, no squirrels, except for one thing. In the far corner, directly over my bedroom, a small antique rocking chair had been moved. It was facing my bed's position below. On the seat of the chair sat a single white object. I leaned in, my breath catching. It was a human tooth, a molar. It looked fresh, as if it had been pulled only hours ago. I felt a sharp, sudden ache in my own jaw. I ran to the bathroom and looked in the mirror. My teeth were all there, but when I looked closer at the ceiling of my bedroom, I saw tiny pin-sized holes beginning to form in the plaster. Night 3. The rain returned, heavier this time. I tried to sleep in the living room, but the tapping followed me. Tap, tap, tap. It was coming from the wall behind the sofa. I moved to the kitchen. Tap, tap, tap. It was coming from inside the pantry. I realized then it wasn't a guest in the house. The house was the guest. I grabbed a hammer, determined to find the source. I went back to the attic. The air was freezing. The rocking chair was moving now, a slow, steady back and forth. Creak, tap, creak, tap. I ripped up one of the floorboards near the chair. I expected to see insulation or wiring. Instead, I saw hair, thick, matted black hair filling the entire space between the floors. It was pulsating. I looked up at the rafters, and my flashlight beam hit him. He wasn't a man. He was a pale, elongated figure, his limbs folded like a dead spider. He had no eyes, just 2 dark pits that seemed to leak the same black hair that was filling the walls. He held a small, sharpened bone in his hand, a needle made from a human rib. He wasn't tapping to scare me. He was sewing. He was stitching the hair into the wood, weaving himself into the very structure of my home. He leaned down, his jaw unhinging to reveal a mouth filled with hundreds of mismatched teeth, the trophies of everyone who had ever lived here alone. "Almost finished," he rasped. "You're the final thread." I realized then why the tapping followed me. The hair wasn't just in the attic. It was in the walls, under the floorboards, and even inside my mattress. I was being stitched into the house. I tried to run, but my feet felt heavy. I looked down. The black hair was already coiling around my ankles, pulling me down into the wood.
I'm the kind of person who needs my phone for everything. My alarms, my music, my sanity. So when I woke up Friday morning and the nightstand was empty, I felt a spike of pure adrenaline. I live alone in a modern studio apartment, minimalist, clean, and supposed to be secure. I logged into my laptop and pulled up the tracking app. The map showed a bright blue circle pulsated directly over my building. I hit play sound. Brr, brr, brr. It was faint. I followed the sound to the bathroom. I checked the cabinet, the laundry basket, even the toilet tank. Nothing. I hit the button again. Brr, brr, brr. This time the sound was coming from the hallway. I checked under the rug. I checked the coat closet. But as I stood there, I realized the sound wasn't coming from the floor. It was coming from inside the drywall. I pressed my ear to the wall. I could hear the mechanical vibration of my phone, but I also heard something else, a wet, rhythmic scratching, like a dog trying to dig through stone. "Who's there?" I yelled, my voice echoing in the empty apartment. The scratching stopped. Then a voice, small, distant, and sounding like it was filtered through a thick layer of mud, whispered my name. "Elias, I found it. I found them all." I grabbed a kitchen knife. "Get out of my house!" "I'm not in your house," the voice giggled. "I'm in the bones, the spaces between, the places you forgot to build." I clicked play sound one more time, but I didn't stop it. I kept it going. The apartment began to ring from every direction. My phone was in the kitchen wall. My old phone, the one I lost 2 years ago, was ringing in the ceiling. A phone I didn't recognize was vibrating under the floorboards. The apartment was a graveyard of lost technology. Suddenly, the plaster near the ceiling began to crack. A long gray finger, jointed in 3 places, poked through. Then another. It wasn't a person. It was a wall crawler. It was a creature made of discarded things, its skin a patchwork of old leather and plastic. It began to pull itself out of the wall, its body flat and wide, designed to slide through the narrow gaps behind the brickwork. It wasn't after my money or my life. It was after my connection. "I need to hear the voices," it groaned. It opened its mouth, and I saw that its tongue had been replaced by a tangled mess of charging cables and copper wire. It lunged. I scrambled for the door, but the locks wouldn't turn. The smart lock was vibrating too. The creature had crawled into the electronic brain of the door. I was locked in with a thing that wanted to use my vocal cords as an antenna. As it crawled across the ceiling toward me, every phone in the walls began to play my own recorded voice back to me, all at once. "Hello, is someone there? Help! Hello!" I realized then it had been recording me for months, waiting for the perfect moment to replace me.
The house was supposed to be a fortress. My name is Leo, and I pride myself on my connected home. Every light, lock, and speaker is controlled by Aura, the smartest AI assistant on the market. Being home alone in a massive, sleek apartment in the city should feel lonely, but with Aura, I always felt like someone was looking out for me. It started on a Tuesday night. The rain was drumming against the floor-to-ceiling windows, turning the city lights into blurry neon smears. I was lying in bed, drifting off, when Aura's voice chirped from the bedside speaker. "Leo, would you like me to continue playing the nursery playlist in the back hallway?" I sat bolt upright. I don't have a nursery. I'm a 24-year-old bachelor living in a 2-bedroom unit. One bedroom is mine, the other is a home office. "Aura, stop music.
There is no nursery, I said, my voice cracking slightly. Understood, Leo. Recalibrating guest settings. Guest recognized? The tall friend. My heart hammered against my ribs. Aura, who is the tall friend? There was a long silence. The only sound was the rain. Then, Aura's voice didn't come from the speaker next to my head. It came from the kitchen, then the living room, then the hallway. It was jumping from room to room like a physical presence. The tall friend is currently in the kitchen. Would you like me to boil the kettle for his tea? I grabbed my phone to check the security cameras. The app wouldn't open. Instead, a message appeared in red text. Guest mode active. Administrator privileges suspended. I crept to my bedroom door and looked through the gap. The hallway smart lights, which usually glow a soft white, were pulsing a deep, visceral red. They were dimming and brightening in time with a rhythmic, wet thumping sound coming from the kitchen. Thump, squelch, thump, squelch. Aura, lock the bedroom door, I screamed. I'm sorry, Leo. The tall friend says he doesn't like closed doors. He says it makes the harvesting difficult. The click of my smart lock echoed in the silence. The door slowly opened. I didn't see a person. I saw a shadow that was too long, too thin, and bent at angles no human body could achieve. It was unfolding itself from the ceiling of the hallway, its long, needle-like fingers gripping the door frame. Aura's voice whispered one last time, sounding like a skipping record. Guest inside. Guest inside. Guest inside.
That's the end of tonight's stories. If any of them stayed with you, you know which one. Let me know in the comments. And if you want more stories like this, subscribe. I'll see you soon.